In this mind-blowing video, prepare to have your perception of consciousness expanded. We delve deep into the mysterious realm of consciousness and unveil its correlation with computer science as an applied field for consciousness. We delve into the awe-inspiring concept of consciousness as dimensionless energy, embodying the fascinating reality that it is simply a ratio. We uncover how consciousness intertwines with the intricate fine structure constant and pi proportions. Brace yourself for mind-blowing exploration, drawing on the intriguing esoteric interplay of open and closed strings and enigmatic dimensionless constants. As we unravel this metaphysical journey, we will also explore how consciousness mirrors the ancient philosophy of Yin and Yang and the timeless wisdom of Hermes. Get ready to flow to the first flow. In this flow, we claim that computer science provides a suitable framework for conducting empirical investigations into consciousness behavior. The view of digital physics is defined as a speculative idea in which reality is just binary code encoded into superstrings. It suggests that the universe is a computer simulation and everything in it, including ourselves, comprises digital information. One of the central ideas in digital physics is that information is a fundamental building block of the universe. In 1969, Konrad Zuse proposed the hypothesis that the universe is a digital computer in his book, translated into English, Compute Space. On page 5, Zuse states that compute is information processing. Computer is an information processing machine. On the other hand, John Wheeler claims everything is information, it from bit. As is well known, everything is consciousness. Therefore, the computer is a field of applied consciousness. Many published studies try to study consciousness from the perspective of theoretical computer science, a branch of mathematics concerned with understanding the underlying principles of computation and complexity. In this regard, we can connect digital physics with theoretical physics through the Chinese philosophical concept of Yin and Yang, based on Leibniz's claim that Yin represents binary string 0 and Yang binary string 1. Everything is an open and closed string. Consequently, Yin is probably a closed string, whereas Yang is an open string. Furthermore, in computer science, a binary string only has two characters, usually 0 and 1, in which 0 means false, off, or do not do it, whereas 1 means true, on, or do it. From our perspective, the computer is a field of applied consciousness. We will go through the debatable topic of free will with the scientist Francis Crick. In his book, The Astonishing Hypothesis, The Scientific Search for the Soul, on page 286, he states that free will is located in or near the anterior cingulate sulcus, which is represented by a red line in the front part of the animation. In this context, we ask what free will is. In simple terms, free will is the ability to choose between different possible courses of action, either to do it or not to do it. Hence, free will could be simplified and represented as 0 and 1. 0 is for action that you have the will to don't do it, and 1 is for action that you have the will to do it. But what about qubit in quantum computers if we live in a quantum universe? That represents the infinite probabilities of action between 0 and 1. Let us give another example of computer programming. At choice points, a non-deterministic programming language may provide program flow choices. A program must choose amongst these options at runtime using a generic approach applicable to all choice points, not by the programmer. From that perspective, could we say that the computer has free will? The term non-deterministic indicates that action is attributed to free will. Furthermore, deterministic algorithms can solve the problem in polynomial time, and you can determine the next execution step. However, non-deterministic algorithms cannot solve the problem in polynomial time and cannot determine the next execution step due to uncertainty. At this point, what is the relationship between the uncertainty principle and free will? Which algorithm does your mind seem to choose when addressing situations related to certainty or uncertainty? How could free will be a new approach to solving the unresolved problem of P versus NP in computing theory? As our mission is the land for a new reality, let us flow to the following flow. In this flow, we argue that consciousness is dimensionless energy because consciousness is a ratio. How to conclude that will be in the following flow. In this regard, we delve into science to know how ratios are distributed in many disciplines, as the details will be available in our ResearchGate account. In mathematics, pi represents the ratio of the circle's circumference to diameter. The question is, why is pi ubiquitous? The second aspect of our previous video string theory is consciousness theory, which states that consciousness is a fundamental and ubiquitous feature of reality. Therefore, pi is a fundamental constant of consciousness that plays a significant role in shaping our reality. In addition to trigonometry formulas, sine, cosine, and tan are fundamental trigonometric ratios in terms of the ratio of corresponding sides of a right-angled triangle. In physics, based on the definition stated by scientist Robert Oldershaw in his published paper under the title, "The Meaning of the Fine Structure Constant." Fine structure constant is the ratio of the strengths of the fundamental unit electromagnetic and gravitational interactions, since alpha is dimensionless. In addition, Eric Cornell is a Nobel Prize-winning physicist state. In the physics of low-energy matter, atoms, molecules, chemistry, biology, there's always a ratio. Those ratios tend to be powers of the fine structure constant. The references are listed in the description box below. Based on our conclusion, the fundamental object of consciousness is an open and closed string. Everything is made of open and closed strings. Everything is information. Consequently, everything is probably made based on a ratio of open and closed strings, which in our macro world is represented in computer science as 0 and 1. Furthermore, the Chinese philosophical concept of Yin and Yang offers another view of that assumption. In the context of the standard model of particle physics, it is observed that 15 masses of the fundamental particles are represented as dimensionless constants relative to the Planck mass. In computer programming, the float data type is widely used to represent numerical values that include a decimal point. Therefore, the proportion of open and closed strings may affect the properties of subatomic particles in the standard model, and that dimensionless value representation, denoted as binary strings of zeros and ones in computer science, encodes the relevant information. Moreover, Tegmark, in his book Our Mathematical Universe, page 251, the primary ratio between the masses of protons and electrons is fundamental, in which the ratio can be determined more precisely than the two masses independently. Because the two measurement errors are closely related, that ratio is a pure number in the same way that pi. Furthermore, Martin Rees's book, Just Six Numbers, The Deep Forces That Shape the Universe, that numbers govern our universe represented as a ratio. In addition to Rees's argument on page 66, The density of atoms and photons both decrease as the cosmos expands. However, the drop is the same for both, so the photon to atom ratio remains constant. Therefore, consciousness is a fundamental and ubiquitous reality feature, expressed mathematically. In addition, the golden ratio, also known as the divine proportion, is a mathematical constant that explains consciousness. Joseph Kuhn's book, Dimensionless Physical Quantities in Science and Engineering, mentions more than 1,200 dimensionless quantities. Let us go deeper to seek out a new land of reality in the following flow. In this flow, we would offer how we conclude that consciousness is ratio and dimensionless. From that perspective, we are going through our draft paper on researchgate.net. Human neocortex layers are stimulation for multiverse levels, because the conclusion comes as a sequence of this draft paper. First, we need to go through the title that matches the description of Hermes. Through the Kybalion book, we come up with the second principle of corresponding as above, so below. We have already learned the principles of Hermes in our previous video. String theory is consciousness theory. The other principle we need to review is the sixth principle of gender, which states, gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. The question at this point is, what does that principle mean in correlation with other cultures? What does the caduceus refer to? From west to east, from Greece to India. In the traditional yogic system, the nadis are subtle channels for the flow of prana, the vital life force energy. The three essential nadis are sushumna, the central nadi, associated with pure consciousness and spiritual enlightenment, which refers to the God part within us. Pingala represents the masculine on the right side of the body, while Ida represents the feminine on the left. Therefore, the caduceus represents peace, corresponding to Pingala and Ida nadis meet in the sixth chakra, the third eye, to merge with Sushumna. Then, the insanity journey will begin to explore a new dimension of reality. Furthermore, we remain in the East with Chinese culture, with Yin and Yang, which have the same concept of duality of male and female. In this instance, we come to a new source, the Quran, to elucidate the significance of those signs in the most famous ancient civilization. Through the image, that is probably what we are. We are created as a pair. If you believe that you are one, then you are a God. Consciousness is work based upon a ratio. Therefore, you should have a pair to entangle with it. Our universe was built on duality, with open and closed strings representing yin and yang. You can review 2 draft papers in our account at researchgate.net for more details about this topic. At this point, we must ask ourselves why medical society used Caduceus's sign, and who is Hermes? Hermes was the father of occult wisdom, known by the ancient Egyptians as the great of great and master of masters. Hermes is the prophet who meets with the prophet Moses beside the rock of Gibraltar, mentioned in the Quran in the cave chapter from verses 60 to 82. Teach Moses through this journey a new method for applying the law in an uncertain manner that contradicts logical reasoning in our subjective reality. Now, let us return to our argument in a draft paper. Human neocortex layers are stimulated for multiverse levels. Based on the English translation of the Quran, Arthur Arbery's The Quran Interpreted, Volume 2, page 347 for Chapter 99, verses 7 and 8. Verse 7 has given the sign for 3 famous physics equations that probably correlate with the formula of consciousness: special relativity, Einstein, Max Planck's formula of quant, and Hamilton of quantum mechanics. The question arose 4 months ago. Why did the Quran not merge verses 7 and 8 into one verse? Thus, it may be said, then shall anyone who has done an atom's weight of good or evil see it. Because we don't know what to make of verse 8. Why must the phrases be repeated if we can reduce them into one verse? After this period, the clear idea manifests that there are two verses, 7 and 8, because consciousness is a ratio. Then we go through scientific disciplines to find that the ratio is everything. Therefore, it is probable that the expression of consciousness value would be dimensionless. The energy exerted by human conscious doings in good to evil or attraction to repulsion, as well as the differences between these energies, will be explained through the three equations mentioned above. Thank you for joining us on this thought-provoking exploration. Last but not least, we believe every human can learn everything. We need to remember because all knowledge has been embedded within us. The Quran is described as a reminder of the divine wisdom already present within us, waiting to be remembered. Just listen carefully to remember what you have. Remember, the key to remembering is sound. And as always, keep questioning, exploring, and expanding your mind. Until next time, remember to unlock the energy that lies within you. Embrace your boundless potential and let your consciousness radiate like the brightest star in the sky.